Hello everybody, and thank you for coming along to the CREST intelligence-led penetration testing webinars today. And the next webinar on our agenda is presented by Samantha Alexander, who is the Principal Accreditor at CREST. And her presentation will be on the Cybersecurity Maturity Assessment for Global ecosystems. So just before I pass over to Samantha, I just want to go through that. Obviously you do have an opportunity at the end of this presentation to ask Samantha any questions that you wish to. There is a button which is labelled questions, and you can just press on that and enter your question, and we'll get it asked for you at the end. So please feel free to type those questions through the presentation or at the end, and we'll be asking Samantha to answer those for you. So thank you very much once again for attending, and I will hand over to you, Samantha. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Hi everybody. Yes, as Debbie says, my name is Samantha Alexander. I'm the Principal Accreditor here at CREST, and I've also been one of the leads within CREST for this particular project. So the project in particular that I'm going to be speaking through is in relation to a grant that CREST received around about just over 12 months ago now from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So that grant we received was to help increase cybersecurity in a number of countries throughout Africa and Asia, those countries being Nigeria, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Indonesia. So a nice long list of countries there from throughout Africa and throughout Asia. So as you can see here, there's several different reasons why the funding was chosen. So the funding will support threat intelligence-led system penetration testing through a trusted provider ecosystem. So basically what CREST is going to be doing is looking to help the local industry professionalise and mature. We're going to be raising standards, defining measurement frameworks and helping build the 3 C's within CREST, that capability, capacity and consistency. Now this project specifically is looking at financial services. So we've very much been working with key stakeholders, governments and regulators within each of these countries to help identify some of these improvement areas. So a bit of a project overview for you. So right at the beginning here on the left-hand side, this is where we've started the project. This is what we've been working on over the last sort of 9-10 months. So this is the maturity model assessment. Now we're going through that in more detail very shortly, but that consisted of some quantitative and some qualitative analysis. Over the last 6 to 8 weeks, we've then been doing some validation with stakeholders. So this is where we invited key stakeholders from each of the countries to attend workshops with CREST to have a look at all the data that we've gathered within that maturity model assessment and to identify additional sources or some additional information that needs to be added into those. The next steps we're currently taking is extracting all the good practice we've identified and also creating some development pathways. Now, what we're doing as part of that is we are going to be creating development pathways both on a country level and also at a regional level. We're going to be targeting common improvement areas and collaborating with existing initiatives. So we don't want to be reinventing any wheels that have already been put in place in any of these countries or any of the regions. All we want to do is help them, develop them and put them into place. The last step here is looking at building in-country resource. So obviously due to the current pandemic, the restrictions on travel have affected some of this project and us actually getting in front of some of these key stakeholders. This has meant most of our workshops, in fact all of our workshops since March, have been virtual. So over the last 6 to 8 weeks, we've been running as many virtual workshops as possible to ensure we're getting in front of those key stakeholders. But one of the next steps is to recruit that in-country resource to help us facilitate getting in front of and the communications with those key stakeholders. Then finally, one of the last steps is to look at creating regional and country CREST chapters to help benefit all the key stakeholders in that ecosystem. So the summage. So this is the area of the maturity assessment model that we have identified. So here are the key areas that we've looked at as part of our qualitative and quantitative assessment. So you can see here there's a number of indicators that our research team has been identifying and researching over the last 10 months. So you can see here it's based on a 5-level maturity model for each of these indicators identified. So ranging from national cybersecurity strategy and capabilities, this for looking at the government strategy and policies that are in place. What policies do they have in place in relation to cybersecurity, both domestic and also internationally, that may affect them? We also have law enforcement. Then we have information sharing. So we looked at all the certs and information sharing that are in place. Again, trying to look specifically at financial services, but we've also captured some other parts of critical national infrastructure within these countries that have some of these in place. Then we looked at service provision. So again, through internet searching, we have identified both international and domestic capability that they have for all these disciplines listed here. So from threat intelligence, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, security operations centres, and incident response providers. Then moving on to professional development, what we've then done is we've looked at all academia and higher education. So we've looked for what universities are currently in place within country, which ones are training either to something in relation to cybersecurity. So it could be forensics, could be computer engineering, or could very much be very specific to cybersecurity. What we've then looked at is training providers, again on an international basis and also domestic, and again looking at face-to-face training and also internet-based e-learning. As you go through the list, you can see there all the others within that section 4 are aimed at professional development. From what professional certifications are looked upon within the organisation. We looked a lot at adverts for job roles specific around cybersecurity. What particular roles we're looking for, what sort of certifications within that country. And finally, we did some banking sector cybersecurity posture analysis, which is the quantitative analysis. And again, I'll go into that on the next slide, but just an overview. It was a passive external assessment of all the public-facing IT infrastructure. And again, this is where we specifically looked at financial services and banking. So the banking sector risk score. So this was we carried out a passive, non-intrusive external assessment of the public-facing IT infrastructure. So they were carried out by machines to common standards, allowing for comparisons, benchmarking, and periodic automated reassessments. So what we're looking at doing with this analysis is using the information we have gathered and rerunning it in 12 to 18 months against some set KPIs to monitor progress and improvement for each of the 8 countries. Now you can see here there's a list of some of the examples of some of the information that we've gathered through this external assessment. So it was identifying known software vulnerabilities, email authentication measures in place, any breached credentials, and also internet-facing databases. So just an example here of how we measured this banking sector risk score. So we took the vulnerability, we took the threat, and we have split it across the 5-level maturity model. What we've then done is we've then done analysis on various different banks. Again, this is just an example. So across the board from the 100 banks we have looked at, so we, again, within these 8 countries, we identified the top 100 banks. If there is more than 100, then we selected the top 100. If there is less, so in some of the countries we identified there weren't actually 100 banks in that country. So what we then did was we just analysed as many banks as we could, and again we took an average from them. So you can see here what we did was we set the national average, and that's then the score that has been given overall. What we have also done is we've produced individual reports for each of these banks, but again that information is only going to be given to those individual banks as and when they request it. So it's based upon a 5-level maturity model structure. These are the 5 levels here. So we have level 1, emerging, level 2 is transitional, level 3 is organised, level 4 is dynamic, and level 5 is leading. So what we did was within each of those indicators, we assigned them an individual maturity level, and then we grouped them together into the dimensions. So as I said, the 6 dimensions we had, from professional development to service provision, all the way up to the information sharing and certs. So within each one of these, we also set a relevant definition for each one of them. So for emerging, we had wording such as little evidence, limited provision. For level 2, no competition and some evidence. Level 3, good competition and strong evidence found. Level 4, healthy investment and clearly benchmarked. And level 5, self-sustaining and fully implemented. So the next steps and activities. So as you can see, this is the analysis of what we've done so far. So we've gathered all the research, we've started our validation with our stakeholders, and what we're now doing is planning the next 12 to 18 months of helping these regulators and key stakeholders create those improvement plans, create the areas of good practice and the areas for improvement that they need to follow up on over the next 12 to 18 months and even longer term. So some of the things here that I've listed on the left-hand side are some of the areas that some of you within the ILP community may be able to assist CREST with. So we are open to opportunities. We are wanting to get the industry involved. This is not something CREST is doing alone. We want to get as many people in country and from within the cybersecurity community to get involved, to help drive these ecosystems in each of these countries that we're working in. So some of the good practice guidance that we're creating. So the 2 points here, cybersecurity for microfinance and challenger banks, and a generic guide to simulated targeted attack and response. So the latter is one that we're already working on, but it would be very much appreciated for any assistance from the ILP community to get involved and help CREST with this. And then, as I said, all of this is through consistent, repeatable, quantitative and quantitative key performance indicators. So we'll be rerunning all of this research, all of this analysis on at least a 12 to 18 month basis to monitor our progress on how we are delivering in improving this cybersecurity ecosystem. Before I jump into the questions, just another couple of key points here. So again, as much as the 8 countries, if anybody here has any interest in any of those 8 countries, we are still open to any validation or any assistance with some of the data gathering that we have done within that market analysis. So again, please feel free to reach out to us. On the next slide, you will see my contact details, where I would be happy to expand a little bit further and share some of the results with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Samantha, and I'm sure that was very informative to everyone on this presentation. So, as I say, you still have an opportunity to type into the question pane if you have any questions that you would like to put to Samantha on this presentation. So please feel free to get those in and get those asked before the end of the webinar. So if I could start with a couple of the questions that have come in. So the first question, how were the countries chosen in this project?
Absolutely. So through conversations with the Gates Foundation. So conversations with them started, I'll say nearly 2 years ago now, where initially the department specifically we're working with is called the Financial Services for the Poor. So specifically working across various parts of Africa and Asia, and also other parts of the world. So they approached us initially to just look at parts of Africa, but they've over the last sort of year before the contract was awarded, we then added that up to 8 countries. So it very much wasn't CREST. This is looking at what the Gates Foundation see as their top priority list currently. So yes, that's where it came from.
That's great, thank you very much. And as I say, if you've got any other added questions to the question that you put in, then please feel free to get those through. So kind of following on, I'll ask this question next. So would CREST be looking to expand on these countries in the future?
Absolutely. As I say, this is just a funded project, but CREST has been working on creating this maturity assessment model for ecosystems for the last sort of 2 to 3 years. So this is almost like our, I wouldn't say pilot, but this is our initial phase at going through some of this. We've already presented some of these results and some of the analysis to other countries. So we've presented our methodologies, how we deliver this, and we already have quite a nice long list of other countries that are interested in working with us on doing something very similar in other parts of the world. So absolutely, we are looking at expanding this out.
Great, that's wonderful. And this does follow in, but I think what I'll do is I'll actually break this question down into 2, because as you've said, you may be looking to expand those countries in the future. So the question was, so how can we get involved with the Gates project? So perhaps if we took it from the point of view of how would the countries get involved if they wanted to, and then perhaps how individuals and companies could get involved with the project.
Absolutely. So for new countries that are looking and get involved, it starts with initial conversation. So within CREST, we would just have a conversation with a key stakeholder within a country. We explain the methodologies, what we're looking at delivering, some of the results we've had from elsewhere, obviously without giving any of the finer detail of any weaknesses away. And then we start the process. So it is basically just working with the key stakeholder on defining exactly what they're wanting to achieve from it. And then CREST starting the process with our research team to do that. From an individual perspective, there is lots of opportunities to get involved. As I said, we're still running workshops. So Ali and Debbie on this call will be able to send you invites to our next set of workshops for each of these countries. So the next set of workshops will be later this month in November, and they will be looking specifically at the results. So we've already held our validation workshops where lots of people took the results away and validated some of it for you, for us even. And the next workshops will be going through in more detail some of the results and some of the plans and ideas we have, so the improvement plans for the next 12 to 18 months for each of these countries. So these workshops will be held at a country level. So each country will have its own workshop. And if you'd like to get involved in those, then absolutely, anybody can be invited. Please let us know which countries you're interested in, and we can definitely do that. Something else we're also happy to do is still open that validation window. So if you're able to assist us in any of those areas, with looking at the data we've gathered, validating it for us, offering any suggestions, by all means, again, please let us know. We would be more than willing to open that up for you to have a look at that in any of those 8 countries. And then, as I said, moving into the next 12 to 18 months, CREST is looking at producing a lot of guidance. So looking at all those indicators from law enforcement, government strategy and policy, service provision, academia, I don't think what else is on there, lots of different areas. We are going to be producing lots of generic guidance that these countries can go away and work on and adapt and implement within their individual countries. So very much we are looking for experts, expertise, knowledge and skills to help us put lots of these research guides together. So if you are able to assist us in any of those areas and any of those dimensions and indicators, please do let us know. Even if it is just you would like to have a further conversation to see if it's something you're interested in. Again, this project is open. We want to collaborate with the industry. We want to get as many people involved to help drive the ecosystem. I do feel the more people that are involved, the more people that are talking about it, the more assistance we will have, the more chance we have of actually improving the ecosystem in each of these countries.
Great, thank you, Samantha. So another question here is with regards to the great thing on subject that we're all talking about, which is COVID. And has that affected any of the research or anything that you've been doing within those countries at this time?
Not particularly. The only difference we've had is obviously we haven't been able to go out. We did plan over the last sort of 3 months, definitely, to go out and visit and have workshops and meetings face to face. All we have done is we've moved them to virtual. So we've had some very successful virtual workshops. We've had quite, I would say, really nice attendance from quite key stakeholders, and especially from the financial services. We've had quite a lot of those actually reaching out to us, attending our workshops. So it has hindered us in that we haven't been able to get out face to face and hold those meetings. But in other words, it's meant we've held a lot more worthwhile workshops virtually online in sort of these formats. But we've actually had some really good feedback and they've been very much worthwhile.
That's great, lovely. And so I don't know if anybody else has got any more questions to put into Samantha at all. I'll just give you a couple of seconds to put any in that you wish to. But then if not, then we will look at closing the webinar. But I can see on the last slide that Samantha has her email address. She's contactable. So if anybody has any suggestions or wants to volunteer for anything that Samantha's put forward today, then please feel free to contact her. So I can't see any other questions. Oh, I just said that and one came in. Look at that. It's yeah. Oh, so this person just joined a little bit later, and they wondered if you could just list the 8 countries again.
Absolutely. Just so I don't miss anybody, I will just skip back to the beginning of my slides. Here we go. So we have Nigeria, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. And as I say, if you want to ask Samantha any questions, or you want to contact us at marketing@crest-approved.org, then please feel free, and we can pass anything through to the team to answer for you. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Samantha for her presentation today. That's been really informative. So thanks, Samantha.
Thank you very much.
And I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. And we have one more presentation of the day. So if you still wish to come on that one, please let us know. And yes, we'll be happy to see you on that one. So take care, everyone, and thank you very much. Thank you.